and officially get started. Welcome, everyone, to Making the Most of Your Alumni. For those of you who don't know who we are, GBSN is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We're located in Washington, D.C. We're working to improve business schools in developing countries. And we do this through both programs and networking and events such as this webinar. We are made up of 51 member schools, and we continuously grow. Each school goes through an application process that is reviewed every quarter. For those of you who are not on this list and interested in joining, please feel free to contact me at any time to learn about the application process. Some of our events, one that I'm pleased to announce is Case Method Month. We hold events and activities focused on management education and emerging markets. September is when we really highlight everything to do with Case Method with a very special focus on developing countries. We have blogs and webinars, resources, articles, toolkits, all throughout this month. So please keep this in mind and please feel free to share with your faculty. We also have different working groups around different topics. I'm very pleased to note that we have about 78 alumni relations staff registered for this webinar from all over the world. If you're interested in continuing to engage and connect with other alumni resources, I encourage you to think about joining this working group. As you heard, our mission is to build capacity in developing country schools. We have many schools, especially those in Africa, who are looking to build their alumni programs, and this is a great way to not only get new ideas, but also to give back. Some of our initial activities will be informal web conferences quarterly, where Alumni Relations will have the opportunity to share interesting activities, discuss challenges. We'll also hold a few more webinars similar to the one we're holding now on different topics. I'm very pleased to have with us today both Andrew Crisp from CarringtonCrisp and Edith Kennedy, Alumni Relations from the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa. Starting us off today is Andrew Crisp. Earlier this year, his company CarringtonCrisp ran the Alumni Matters research study for the first time. Their company brought together schools from to carry out an online survey of about 2,500 alumni this May and June. This presentation will be some of the preliminary results from the study, and we are thrilled that we are able to immediately report on these findings and hope that you find them useful. After Andrew's presentation, we'll have Edith Kennedy present from the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa. Edith is a strong user of social platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and she also has firsthand experience working in 5 different industries in Europe and South Africa. Starting us off today will be Andrew Crisp, who is calling in from the United Kingdom. Good morning, Andrew. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Let me just bring up my slides for you. There we go. Well, welcome everybody. I'm delighted. Sorry, just a little. Are my slides up okay?
Yep, we can see them.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Lisa, for your introduction. As Lisa suggested, what I'm going to talk through are some very early high-level findings from the study that we've carried out with around 2,500 alumni, also with a group of final year undergraduates and final year or single year master students to get a sense of what they are anticipating being an alumnus will mean for them and their relationship with their business school. We're going to begin the presentation today, though, with a little poll asking you what are your priorities for alumni relations. And I'm going to hand back to Lisa to run this poll.
So go ahead if you would like to click on one of your largest top priorities. If you click on the actual button to the left, go ahead, give a few minutes for everyone to vote. Again, this is, obviously these are all important, but go ahead and click on what you think is more important than the rest. Great. Go ahead and close the poll, share the results.
Okay, well that's very interesting, building a learning community on top there. Nobody using alumni though, seeing as a priority in terms of the recruitment of new students, and then the rest spread very evenly. Okay, well let's go back to the presentation slides if we can. Is that all okay?
You'll need to go ahead and hit, there you go, hit presentation mode.
Okay. Okay. The reason for asking those questions at the outset is really to find out whether there's a disconnect between what alumni expect from alumni relations and what the those running alumni relations departments expect of their alumni. And the first question that I wanted to show the results from is this one on the purpose of alumni relations. So we asked students, the alumni rather, what they felt the purpose was of alumni relations, and you can see there are two clear answers. First of all, fostering collaboration and networking among alumni, and at the foot of the chart, facilitating friendship and business connections. So a very clear message. What they don't think it's about, interestingly, is a channel to give back to the business school in the middle there. Although it's the third answer, it's only just over 10% of the respondents who selected that as the purpose of alumni relations. So perhaps a little bit of a disconnect, but there's a bit more detail to come. So let me go on to the next slide. Yeah, in the next slide, we asked about the balance of the relationship between alumni and the school itself. And again, some interesting findings here. The large blue section on the right, about 40% say the balance is about right. Only a small number are saying they get asked to support the school too often, and I suspect that's going to be true however often you're asking them. 18%, so almost 1 in 5, the school could ask for more support. But again, almost 40%, if the school wants more support, they would have to offer more services in return. So whilst alumni may be content with the balance of the relationship at the moment, if you're going to look for more from them, it's got to be a question of a two-way street rather than simply asking the alumni for support. We then asked alumni, I suppose, really to understand what their motivation was, why they get involved with alumni relations. And what we've got here are not just the alumni answers, which are the orange bar on the top of each group, but also those from the prospective alumni that I mentioned. And as you can see, there are 3 or 4 key reasons from the bottom upwards: building a network to support my career / business. And career is a message that comes through consistently in the survey. Finding new job opportunities, the second one up, is also a strong performer. Fourth one up, keep in touch with classmates. And perhaps most interesting, I think, towards the top there, to keep up to date with new business thinking. And this is a message that we do see repeated in a number of the slides, albeit in different ways. Of course, the flip side of why people are active in the alumni network is why they're not active, and so we ask that question as well. And what we get here are really 2 sort of standout reasons. Slightly worrying at the bottom, I'm unaware of services for alumni, and in the middle there, I'm too busy with work and other commitments. People will always be too busy for all sorts of things, so that's perhaps not a surprise. But being unaware of the services for alumni is more concerning. It means that actually, though, this is good news in a way for those students, those prospective students and the alumni, because if you've got a third or more who are unaware, then hopefully by making them aware, you bring them on board into the community and they get a benefit out of it. There's a couple of other interesting things that come through here. The fourth heading down, I'm not yet an alumnus. Okay, well, you'd kind of expect that from some students, but it's interesting with the final year undergraduates, 40% say they're not active because they're not yet an alumnus. One of the questions we're asked most often when we work with business schools is how and when should we get current students involved in the Alumni Association? And I know that Edith is going to have a little bit to say about that, particularly with regard to the MBA class in her presentation later, so I won't dwell any further, but I think it's an interesting question, and my sense is, even if it's in a small way, the earlier the better. We then asked some questions about how alumni keep in touch with their alma mater, with their business school that they studied at. And we did this because when we've done individual assignments with schools, one of the things that has become very clear is that smaller and smaller numbers are using purpose-built sections of business school websites to keep in touch, there being a plethora of other ways to do so. One of the comments we often get is, I get up in the morning, I turn on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn all day, I don't go into my business school website very often. It's much easier to keep in touch through LinkedIn groups or something similar than it is to go to another page to open up another website. So we asked the question, how many people use the alumni website? And as you can see, 3% saying all the time, 36% sometimes, but this vast group, almost half the respondents saying they rarely use the alumni pages of their school website, and over 10% not at all. So you've got, pushing on to 2/3 who probably aren't using those alumni pages on your website very often. So inevitably we asked, well, how do you maintain contact? And interestingly, the orange line again is the alumni. Towards the top there, informal links with friends and classmates. So it's more a question of who you know rather than what you know. Further down the page, the electronic newsletter or magazine is very significant. And you can see down towards the bottom, the very last line, dedicated alumni pages on the business school website, or just above, the dedicated pages on the university website. Only about 10%, slightly less than that on the university website, are using those pages amongst alumni. Slightly higher for current students, they're in situ, perhaps it's easier to get to, they don't feel part of the alumni community yet. But it's still generally only about 20% at most, pushing to 30% with the part-time MBAs. If you look up and down as well, the third one up from the bottom, school social media pages, and above that, the other social media websites, then the other social media websites are outnumbering the school or university alumni pages quite often by quite considerable numbers. And it's very much our view that this is going to be an important way forward for people managing links and relationships with their alumni, even if there is a requirement at some point to update biographical information on a university/business school website. Tools already exist, and there will be more in the future which will allow integration between the two, and this certainly seems to be a way forward that's of benefit to both sides. We then asked alumni and prospective alumni where they saw the relationship going in the future. We began by asking alumni how they currently provide support to their institution. And there are 4 or 5 things here that stand out. So from the top, promoting the school within my company organization, very beneficial. They may send further students to executive MBA programs, they may seek suppliers for executive education, and so that could be very advantageous. Acting as an ambassador to promote the school, well, this really comes back to the recruitment issue, and I'll touch on that again a little bit more later. Offering professional experience knowledge, a smaller school may well require some particular expertise. Student mentoring is becoming very popular, and again I know Edith will say a little more about that. And to the bottom, assisting with recruitment and speaking at student events. So if you take that assisting with recruitment and acting as an ambassador, 25%, 25, 30%, so 1 in 4, 1 in 3 are already fulfilling that role. Looking to the future, where would alumni like to see improvements in the relationship? There's a real trend here that stands out. About 5 or 6 up from the bottom, provide online learning opportunities. Further up towards the top, enhanced access to research, knowledge updates to build on studies, podcasts from leading industry and academic speakers. All 4 of those are in the top 7 in terms of what they're looking for the future. But personally, I'm not a great fan of the phrase lifelong learning, but it's very clear that alumni are looking to keep their skills up to date in many different ways. They want to make sure that what they learned before when they were in business school is now not out of date, but is up to date and valuable to their employer. A couple of other things. They'd like to improve coaching mentoring services. That's number 3 or 4 here on the list, about 20%. In another study that we run looking at prospective MBAs, one of the interesting trends in the last 3 years has been the growth in demand for entrepreneurship within an MBA program. So learning about enterprise, learning how to set up a business, all of these issues. The coaching mentoring is an aspect of this, where those who are perhaps still learning, or even those who've become alumni already and are looking to start up their own business, can benefit from the wisdom and understanding and experience of others. The other one that I have to mention, 4 up from the bottom, provide stronger career support, enhanced career services. Again, so much of the motivation for going to business school is around career development, enhancing earnings, that side of things. That doesn't stop the day that a student leaves. As an alumnus, we find in a lot of our research, one of the first places they'll look to for support in their career search, even 3, 5, 10 years out of business school, is where they studied. And if it's possible to provide services to alumni in this career development arena, it will absolutely enhance the relationship with the alumnus. We also asked the question of the future alumni, what benefits do they anticipate? A slightly different take here. At the bottom there you can see an electronic newsletter. It's almost a given, really. We almost didn't need to ask it. Then slightly further up, we've got number 5, access to research papers, library access, further up the page, business seminars, as well as the sorts of things you'd expect in the middle here, career services and support, alumni reunions, speaker events, social events. But there's some crossover with the desire for access to research and library access, as well as the more standard sort of events that provide networking opportunities and the chance to reunite with old academic colleagues from different periods of study. But some real messages, I think, coming through that it's about the learning. I think one of the most interesting things when we first looked at this data from our point of view was the importance of research. Whenever we ask prospective students how important research is in their decision-making process, choosing where they're going to study, it tends to rate quite low unless you're a PhD student or a potential PhD student. What we're finding here is that actually research comes into its own. If it can be provided in a digestible format, if it can be shown in a way that demonstrates an impact on business and industry, then it suddenly becomes very valuable. And this is something that, again, along with that career support, that can really enhance the relationship with the alumni. I said I was surprised at the beginning that alumni weren't being used or weren't a priority for recruitment. Again and again, we have seen at business schools that in this arena of recruiting prospective students, alumni are an undervalued and underutilized resource. They can be used in all sorts of settings, whether it's speaking at events and open evenings. They can be used to provide support. They can act as ambassadors. They can be used in so many different places. And I think one of the most telling examples we've come across was using the alumni almost as a storyteller. There is often little differentiation between the academic offers you get from business schools. They all have an MBA, they all have masters, etc. So how do you differentiate yourself? And alumni and their success stories are really one of the great ways of doing that. There's nobody better to validate your marketing promises than your alumni. They've been there, done that, and got the T-shirt, so to speak. And there was a great example at Leeds University in the UK, who had a page of MBA alumni who'd started their own businesses and links to those businesses on the web. This is on the Leeds University Business School website. The second one listed was a company called We Love Snow, and inevitably you click through to their website just out of curiosity, and it's an English guy who started a ski holiday business in Japan. And on the homepage of his website, if you so wish, you can watch it snowing live in Japan on a webcam. Now, it may sound very superficial, but very quickly, online, in a medium that so many young people are using today, you get the message, which is come to Leeds and do your MBA, and you can do almost anything anywhere. And that's a very powerful reason to then go and look at MBAs at Leeds in more detail. So recruiting the next generation, I think, is absolutely vital. And we just have one chart to show you. We asked the alumni whether they would answer questions from prospective students who were considering an institution. 53% said yes, no question at all. Another 37% said it depends on how the process is managed. So straight away you've got 90% of your alumni prepared to get involved in the recruitment process, in bringing new students through to your institution. So they feel involved, they feel committed, they feel as though they're giving back, and it's a start of a process that can lead to so many more benefits from the relationship. Of course, sometimes it is about the money. Alumni relations and fundraising often go hand in hand, and it's impossible to ignore it. The culture of fundraising, of course, is very strong in North America, less so in Europe, and varies throughout other parts of the world. But we thought it was important to ask some questions. First of all, how easy was it to support your institution? Only 8% said very easy and 20% easy. A vast 60% a little unclear how to support the school, 9% difficult to make a contribution, and 3% I find it almost impossible and have given up trying. So there's 70% plus, almost 3/4, who think it's difficult to support the institution. If you have that alumni website, even if it's poorly used, or if you have the pages on LinkedIn or Facebook or somewhere else, just a small button that allows people to click through and find out how they can give either their time or their money will enhance what is being given to your institution by your alumni. We inevitably ask the question, what would motivate them to support a financial appeal? And there's some very interesting answers here. The top 2 reasons, we're reading from right to left, strongly agree to strongly disagree. If you look down from the top, the second and third one down, I would support a financial appeal if it reduced my tax bill, so a little bit of self-interest coming through. And I would support a financial appeal once my income has reached a certain level. So there's a clear reason to keep in touch with people as their careers progress. Further down the page towards the middle there, I would support a financial appeal because I'm proud of my school and what it stands for. A little bit further down because I had a good experience as a student, and just below that because I want the reputation of my business school to be enhanced. Alumni, by studying at your school, have already invested significantly in the institution. It's on their CV for life. What they're interested in is that reputation remaining and ideally growing stronger. And so if they can support you financially or in other ways to enhance the reputation, to build that reputation, then that will only be good for their careers with your institution on their CV. Of course, you'd hope there would be more philanthropic reasons, and there are some other things that come through a little here towards the bottom to support continuing and wider access for future students, and certainly that's important more so in some regions than others. But reputation, experience, and personal interest, I'm afraid, will always drive people to a certain extent. We now have another poll question, and I'm going to hand over to Lisa again.
Okay, and go ahead for this poll. You can select all that apply that you work with in your Alumni Relations office. So go ahead and click all that apply to you, and then go ahead and hit submit. Give everyone a few minutes to vote. Okay, now go ahead and share the results. And Andrew, are you able to see the results?
They've not come up, no.
Okay. About 60% support from the Business School Career Services.
Okay.
About 47% advice provided by fellow alumni, and about 50% links to job boards. And a lower number, 17% support from a private career development, and 10% no assistance provided.
Okay, that's great. All right, well, let's go back to the slides, and I'll just say a little bit about why we asked that question. I think, to my mind, our experience, careers, because it's such an important motivator for students when they consider where to study in the first place, it's important to understand that continues into the future. And it's good to hear that most schools, I think 9 out of 10, from what I understood of the data, are providing some sort of assistance to their alumni with their careers. And I think that's so important in terms of building the relationship, even if it's just links to job boards. It's about getting their next job and how you can help them do that. And if you are providing that assistance, we ask the question, what was most valuable? And you can see here, both from current alumni and from those who are about to become alumni, it can be very simple: access to information about job opportunities, knowing that there is somewhere I can turn where I'm going to find very clear information about prospects in the future. Down at the bottom there, you've still got 40% there saying they'd like to either meet with or speak to an advisor. And certainly with the technology that's available, in more and more cases, even if the alumni are now internationally spread throughout the world, it should be possible to do that. Interestingly, mentoring is there again at about 30 to 40%, and I think that becomes very important. And if that's provided through fellow alumni, particularly those who maybe have experience in terms of starting a business, building a new business, that can be very valuable. I wanted to end with one final slide, which is this advert. It appeared in the Financial Times last summer from Chicago Booth Business School. It was a full-page advert just with that headline: "You are reading our alumni newsletter." And in terms of the title of the seminar, "Making the Most of Your Alumni," I felt this brought together so many different strands. So first of all, it promotes the alumni. It's saying our students are the type of people who read this sort of newspaper. It reminds the alumni as well that there's an Alumni Relations department, that they're important to the school. It enhances the brand and reputation almost by linking it to the Financial Times, but the other things that it says in the copy for the advert. It is about attracting new students. It's using the alumni, even without them doing anything, to attract new students. And it might even prompt some financial support from somebody who's casually reading the newspaper and sees this advert. So I suppose in a way that is my conclusion. There are so many things that can be done with your alumni that don't, on some occasions, even involve them in taking part, but will give them a warm feeling, for want of a better phrase, and will hopefully build the relationship and lead to many other opportunities for the business school and the alumni to work together. So with that, I'm going to hand over to my fellow presenter today, Edith Kennedy from the University of Stellenbosch Business School. And I know Edith is going to share with you some of her practical experience of what it takes to run an alumni relations department. But thank you for listening.
Thank you, Andrew. That was very interesting, and I know that a lot of those results are very applicable to us. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about what it's meant for us to practically run our alumni office. We have just a little bit of background to our alumni. We have 14,000 graduates across the world, and they come from two areas. One is from our University of Stellenbosch Business School, all our degree programs and our postgraduate diplomas, but also from our sister school, which is the USB Executive Development Company, and all their comprehensive courses graduates. They are part of our alumni, and they're sitting all across the world. So we have the most in South Africa, but we also have a large contingency in Namibia and West Africa, East Africa, Australia, right up to Canada. Just to tell you a little bit about our Alumni Relations Office, it has many hats. The USB aims to establish lifelong involvement with its alumni because we want to ensure that our alumni advocate the USB by being positive ambassadors. And we want meaningful support from alumni for events and projects and also academic activities, but also for our bursary programs and other fundraising efforts. And recently we started a very large program for our social engagement initiatives. And also we look for quality advice for our advisory board and our other advisory committees. And we would like to gain access to the business sector, the public sector and the government, our global community and industry. When it comes to our office, we take the task of facilitating the effective cooperation between all these stakeholders. That would be then between the USB and our sister company, the USB Ed, plus our advisory board, the whole association, all our business clients, sponsors, and the social engagement initiatives. Oh. Sorry, there we go. So what has been working up until now is a number of things that are consistent. We have our continuous learning events, Once a month we have a Leaders Angle. It's a breakfast meeting in which we present business trends and new thinking by visiting professors or business leaders and academic authors. We have a bi-monthly We Read For You program. And we have ad hoc master classes which we present in various of our regions. And then an annual refresher seminar. It's a 2-day business top-up of lectures and a workshop on the latest business trends so that they can catch up with what's been happening in the last few years since they've left our business school. Our publications are still very popular. We have a quarterly e-news which goes out to all our alumni but also to all our students. And we have a printed magazine which comes out twice a year. And our alumni have access to our online Leaders Lab research journal. We have our website, and just recently we created a dedicated alumni portal. Now, as Andrew was saying, that doesn't seem to be very popular within the surveys, so that's something we might have to have a look at. We do have a lot of networking events which are run by the committees of the different regions. Some of them are social, purely get-togethers in the evening for a meal, but we also have some formal gatherings in which we'll have a prominent speaker. We have the non-profit organization program, which was founded by the alumni about 13 years ago, and they run it completely with alumni. All the lecturers are alumni on this program, and what they do is they present it to non-profit organization managers who need business skills such as fundraising or marketing skills, and they actually sponsor them onto the program and provide these skills, and then also help with mentoring and help with the actual MPO that they are working in. This year we decided we actually want to get our MBAs involved. So we asked our part-time class to raise money for one MPO manager to enroll onto the program. They identified an MPO, they actually assisted the MPO manager to fly down to Cape Town from Johannesburg. They gave that person business skills because there was a certain level that they had to achieve when it came to computer skills, and they gave the funds for this person to attend the program. And by doing that, we found that we could introduce our MBA students to what the alumni are involved in. And that has been quite a big boost because now they're already starting to ask, what else can we do when we are alumni? Another of our programs that was working very well is our awards and recognition for alumni. Once a year, we present the annual, the Alumnus of the Year Award, and recently we've started introducing the Social Impact Leader Award, which is presented at our gala event, and we ask all our alumni to make nominations for these two awards. But our alumni were very passive, not very involved, and we were very stumped by why are they not actually, being involved with the university as such. They're very happy to attend all the continuous learning events, but so far that was about it. So what did we do? We needed to reinvigorate our Alumni Association. Firstly, we established the connection. We got a dedicated manager just for Alumni Relations, and we increased the communications through the e-news. Then we created a Twitter account, and we created different groups on LinkedIn. And in the USB agenda, we created more stories about the alumni, more events that are happening in and around the Alumni Association. And then we created the web portal so that they can update details, we can provide information on our events to them, but we can also give access to publications and research and DVDs of certain business talks or business seminars that have happened in and around our business school. But we also asked them how would they like to get involved, and we've provided forms so that they can write into us and say this is where they want to be involved with us. And then we have a certain part of the website which is dedicated just to exclusive resources, and there we post our job opportunities for them. We give them access to alumni events, for example the refresher videos. And we have a small part in which if they have a micro business, they are allowed to advertise for free, so we can give them a foot up. A lot of our MBA students decide to start their own business, and we feel this is one way of us being able to give them that boost. Then we realized we need to change our committees, and we needed fresh and committed members on our committee. And in each region, we insisted on having an AGM. And in that AGM, we chose a new committee and found a new chairperson who has a passion for the alumni, who wants to actually make a difference and make a change within the region. But to assist that, we realized, based on the experience of the previous committees, they were very passive and nothing really happened. So we established specific portfolios for the region. Some regions would like to be more involved in business development. They would like to attend the Chamber of Commerce, and it's nice to have one person who can drive that and invite all their alumni who are interested to come and join them at the Chamber of Commerce or other business forums. And then we have somebody who's looking after communications and networking, and this person would then be able to announce there's certain events that are happening in our region. Why don't we go as a group? Why don't we go and listen to this? Or we're going to have a networking event. Please come and join us. And then continuous learning. Some of the regions are more active. So, for example, Gauteng, which is one of our regions in South Africa, and the Western Cape, they are much more keen on having business talks, on having leaders' angles. And that's what they would like to get out of their region. You'll see we have a social engagement one, and this is where we've asked them specifically to start looking at helping the MPO program. And we've started getting quite a good response from people that are intrigued and interested in helping with that. And you'll see we also have one for our bursary fund. When it comes to student advancement, we want somebody to drive the process of assisting us when it comes to mentoring. And a lot of our alumni have said and have started indicating that they are interested in mentoring. But it takes somebody to help within the region, get to know the people, understand who's willing and in what field and what industry are they, and so on. We wanted to build the USB brand, so we gave each region their own email header, and we also started creating roll-up banners that they can actually physically open up at their own regional meeting or when it comes to visiting business forums. These are what our regions look like. So these are each of the banners that we create now, and when we send out an email, they recognize this, so they know this is only from their Western Cape region, and it's not something that they can just ignore. You find we have a lot of email fatigue. People don't really respond very well to mass emailers, and often they actually, they'll just dismiss it. But we found when we started giving them something that is for them and that they can recognize, people started responding more. Now we have a few well-established regions, which is our Western Cape. They have the strongest membership. They're over 6,000 members. And because most of our events actually happen here on our campus, they can attend this. Gauteng is our most active. And then we have a couple of these fledgling regions which need help still. And then we've created a few new regions, and some of these are still having to be established. We also reinvigorated them quite a bit by taking a personal approach. We send regional emails now instead of mass emails. We phone the alumni and personally invite them to events in their region. And we use social media a lot more. One of the biggest things that actually started reinvigorating the Alumni Association is when we decided to have our MBA candidates interviewed by an alumnus. And when we sent out a call to them, we had 300 or over 300 alumni from all over the world coming in and saying they're very happy, they will help us. After the interviews, the alumni phoned and they emailed and they even visited our office, which hadn't happened before, And they said, how else can I help? We really enjoyed the interview and want to stay in contact with the candidate. And that helped us reintroduce our mentoring program with students. And now we're also finding a lot of alumni are interested in helping us with a small business academy. Just to let you know, we have the structure is where we have our alumni president, and he sits on the advisory board. We have our national chair, and he conveys the strategy between the association and the committees. And then we have our regions plus our office, which liaises between all three of these. We have the Alumni Association has their own vision and mission, and they want to be the most desirable alumni association in Africa. Their mission is that they feel it's their moral obligation to grow South Africa and Africa, and they intend to do that by building the brand and the ethos through corporate citizenship, academic excellence, and thought leadership, but also by building capacity and momentum by reinvesting their skills in social engagement projects and growing membership involvement by building a relationship with each alumnus and strengthening communication. What are our biggest challenges? Fundraising is not the done thing in South Africa. There's not really a spending culture. So it's not very well supported or attended, and we struggle with that. So what did we do? We decided to draw our alumni in another way, and we speak to them personally and ask them how they plan to make a difference. We try to build the pride in the school as well as our achievers, and we're now giving much more platforms on how to post these rewards. But we start with the students. We're including our final year students in regional alumni networking so that they get to meet their alumni in the region and also understand what it is that the alumni do. Our next challenge is the database. We have a lot of historical data that needs to be updated, and we find we have a lot of duplication because of the various programs in which, so they come back to the business school after they've done an executive course, come and do an MBA, and now you sit with 2 different emails. But a lot of alumni change jobs, or the companies block emails, and email fatigue is a huge problem with us. And that's why we decided we're first going to appoint a dedicated staffer to update the database and investigate missing information. And this guy is really good. He can find anybody. And we also wanted to spread the word about the web portals, which allows alumni to update their information. And we now use other platforms like Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook to find more. What are we planning in the future? For stronger communication and networking efforts. We've asked each region to come up with a different idea to how to re-engage the constituents, and for example our Western Cape is going to be holding social media workshops so that we can help them get onto LinkedIn and understand how it works, and same with Twitter so that we can use it for discussions, news and events. And we want to attract more people to the web portal and encourage them to contact their regional committees. We're planning reunions, which we hadn't had before, or rather they hadn't been formal reunions. And now in 2014 it's the USB's 50th anniversary, and we're planning many large events with the alumni. And then finally our social engagement program, which has been starting to take momentum here at the USB, and following the association's vision and mission, each region is going to invest time and energy in running these programs. And as I mentioned about the mentors, that is becoming quite a strong part of our engagement with the alumni. So this is just an idea of what we've been up to and how we've been taking it forward. And I would love to hear about anybody else's plans for their alumni office. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Edith, and thank you so much, Andrew. I think that was very informative. First, seeing sort of a global picture of what alumni want, and then Edith going into some of the specifics. We do have lots and lots of questions coming in, so I'll try to get to as many as I can. For those that we don't get to by 10 o'clock, both of the presenters will be available. Before I jump into that, a lot of interest in the presentations and in the chart and in the webinar. Just so everyone knows, it will be available after the webinar event. We will be sending out the presentations and uploading them to our website this Monday. Unfortunately, we will not be able to make those available before then, but both of the presentations. Andrew, perhaps you could say a few words. Again, these are the preliminary results from the study carried out in May and June, and I believe the executive summary as well as the full report will be available. So Andrew, perhaps you might say a few words on that at first.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be a full report and an executive summary published at the start of September. The executive summary will be available free of charge to download from our website. And if people want the full report, that can be purchased for a small fee as well.
Great. All right, Edith. There's a lot of questions coming in for Edith, so I'm going to go ahead and have her I'll start out with some of these questions. The first one is there's a lot of questions on fees, so I'm going to just ask a few of them. One comes from Betty from Strathmore in Kenya. Another comes from Alejandro, Ipade Business School in Mexico. So I'm just going to run through a couple of these just so you can answer them all at once. What is a suitable alumni fee that USB uses for its annual subscription, and what informs that fee? Another question in regards to fees, your alumni web portal, is it free or do you charge a fee? And then same with the monthly presentations, how many people attend and is it free? So a couple of questions in regards to cost coming in from different individuals. So maybe if it's not a proprietary information, you might want to share a little bit more information on that.
Sure. When it comes to the alumni fee, it is part of the overall program fee, but we only get that money transferred to us once they graduate. So that's when we see that. And then when it comes to our website, no, it's accessible to all our alumni for free, but they do have to sign in with their password and with their alumni number. Which is usually their student number anyway. And Lisa, can you remind me the third question?
The third question is in regards to the master classes, is it free, and the alumni web portal, is it free? And how many people attend some of these monthly presentations?
All right, the web portal is free, but they have to sign in. And when it comes to, for example, the Leaders Angle, on most occasions it's a free event. So they have to sign in by us and then attend, but they do not have to pay for it. However, for the master classes, that comes at a fee, and that depends on how long it is and where it is presented. So if it is presented in another region, then it's, obviously the fee is slightly higher. But other than that, we haven't really charged our alumni for much.
If I could just add to that, in our experience in terms of a membership fee, other schools, it's a very mixed view. Some charge a significant sum. I think the largest sum I've heard of is €400 a year at IAC in Spain, but quite a lot, just like Edith at Stellenbosch, don't charge at all. So it's a very mixed picture.
This question comes from Natalie from Cornell University in the U.S. Why did you choose to keep your committee by region and not by affinity? And how did you come to decide that these were the ways you needed to reinvigorate your alumni association? Was it through survey data or benchmarking?
A little bit of both. We did do a number of surveys on various capacities. So some of them were done by our committees. We sent out general surveys to all our alumni, and then a lot of it was observation of what was working, what wasn't working, and some of it was to decide. We can see, what the interaction is, and this idea, when the MBA process happened, people were very involved, and that's when they said to us, this is how they want to get involved. And we started personally speaking to those people and finding out exactly what would they like. However, the regions, they have been set probably for the last 10 years already as regions. And it's to do with the geographical area. And in South Africa, we have 9 different provinces. So we try to stick to those provinces and also to where the people are located. So that was the easiest idea for us, although we are having a look at possibly looking at maybe using interaction. So for example, Gauteng is very next to Mpumalanga and they could work together.
To add to that, this comes from Sandra from Incai in Costa Rica. What are some of the different portfolio objectives for each of these different regional committees, and do they all want or bring the same ideas?
Okay. For example, when it came to the business development, it came from a twofold idea. One, yes, the university itself would like to have contact with business in that area and be able to you know, get much more when it comes to connections, sponsorships, job opportunities. But we also found that our alumni also want to understand, you know, who are the people, who are the role players in the area, how can they connect with those people, how can they make the contact and begin networking. And because we didn't have that contact, we created the portfolio because we found some people in our alumni association would say, oh, actually, I know the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, you know, I know that this is a good way for us to chat to him. Whereas before, we'd never had even that contact. And this is why we wanted to create specific portfolios. And we found that previously the regions had committees and they would meet, say, once a year and actually not do anything. And whereas now, I actually insist if they've got a portfolio, that person must actually produce something once a year. And we found that that's given them new impetus. They're coming up with new ideas and they want to create new events. And for example, like what the Western Cape wants to do, they want to do workshops so that they can teach people how to get onto LinkedIn, to use it so that we can spread out the communication further to other people interested.
This next question again for Edith. This comes from Diana Vasi from Lagos Business School in Nigeria. And a couple of other questions in regards to the size of what is needed to manage an alumni relations. To cater for an alumni group of over 14,000, how many staff do you have in your alumni office? Also, another question is in regards to how many people support this manager position that you created.
Okay. There is only myself in the alumni office, and I have half an intern. I share her with the career services. But I have a lot of support from the marketing and communication department themselves. So when it comes out to sending all our email, we have a web design team, we have a journalist team, we have our marketing team, and when it comes to creating the events, we also have a events coordination team. So I have a lot of help. But at the moment, because this is only recent that we started having a dedicated person, there's a lot of things that we're still trying to figure out.
Again, I can add some experience to that. We've just done a study of alumni relation departments in European universities, and the average size is about 5 to 6 people. But we did find one business school with an alumni relations team that was 18 people strong. Although that did include fundraising.
Okay. All
right. Andrew, just to pop back to your presentation, a couple of questions came in early. This comes from Kate from the Association of MBAs, the AMBA program. Is there evidence that more experienced and older graduates, such as MBAs and DBAs, would like to be part of more of an exclusive network than that of the generic business school alumni network? And perhaps you guys can say a few words on that as well.
Yeah, I think there is some anecdotal evidence. I wouldn't say there's hard data that I can present, but certainly just as you might find within a whole university, the fine arts alumni don't really have a lot in common with the physicists or with the business people. You can stratify a business school as well, and whether you do that by age or by other metrics. Just a little warning, though, I would say, is that those older, perhaps executive MBA students, actually are the ones who have perhaps a little more time and are a little keener to give back, whether it is financially or perhaps more importantly to fellow current students in terms of their experience of running and growing a business. So yeah, by all means set up different things, but don't lose the opportunity for the crossover to take place.
Yeah, we find that most of our people that want to be involved are slightly older, but in different capacities. So when it comes to, for example, our social engagement, like Andrew says, most of them are on the older side. When it comes to the MBA interview process, most of them are just recent graduates again, and they're very keen to do the mentoring as well on the MBA program as such. But when it comes to industry mentoring, we find here middle of the range age groups, those are the ones that want to give back a bit of their information, their business skills that they've learned. So it's quite a wide spectrum.
Great, thank you. We've got about 4 minutes, and we have quite a few questions. We're going to try and get to all of them. This question is in regards to social media, and we didn't have a chance to really focus on that in either presentation. I know, Edith, given your background as well. How do you use the various social media platforms, and how do you use each platform? What are some of the most effective social media for a business school? Do you integrate LinkedIn with updating personal data? So perhaps Andrew and you can both comment on both of those given your research and your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I think probably Edith can say more on this, but a couple of things we would say is, first of all, it's not just one social media platform, particularly if you have a large international alumni group. Yes, they might be using LinkedIn, they may be using Facebook, but also you've got to look at the range of national or culturally based social media channels. We did a study recently which picked up data on Renren in China, and if you looked at the total sample, you would say it's irrelevant. But if you look simply at Chinese students, then you've got 55% of the sample were using Renren in China, and there are different channels in terms of social media, social networks in many countries around the world. So awareness of them, I think, is incredibly important. Edith.
Yes, no, definitely. We also find that not everybody is on Twitter, not everybody is on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and some have preferences for Facebook and they won't use LinkedIn or Twitter. So we use those three mainly, and we try and use them regularly. We find at the moment our LinkedIn is starting to become more popular, especially because we have a dedicated alumni group on LinkedIn for the whole business school, and then each region now has their own group as well. So if, for example, Gauteng is having a networking event, they post the update on that, and so that their whole group, anybody who's in there, will know immediately this is the information that's going out. And on our main group, we put in information, you know, if we're congratulating an alumnus on an achievement, or whether we're starting a discussion. For example, our director, Professor John Powell, is very keen on finding out their opinions and finding out what are they saying or what do they feel needs to happen within a business school. And we find people are responding very well to that platform. When it comes to Twitter, a lot of times we use it much more for providing information. But we will provide information on talks that we've had so that they can go upload from our website. We provide photos of what's been happening at our events and when we have conferences and so on. But we also use it to announce information. And those are the three platforms that we use the most, which work well.
I'd add to that as well. On the LinkedIn thing, we found exactly the same trend with business students this year, a doubling in the usage of LinkedIn, up to about 40% of business students using it. And in terms of Twitter, where we found schools saying they get quite a good result with Twitter, is again around events, both before and after, particularly before, but using it, interestingly, on a very localized basis, because people coming to an evening event are likely to come from within 20 miles or so. So reminding people the day before, even a few hours before, that the event is coming up that evening.
Yes, and what we also do is we tweet the event. So if we have our Leaders Angle, our hashtag is USBLA, and we've started spreading that news. Most of our alumni begin to know that, and if they can't attend the event, they go and read what we are tweeting about, what's happening within that event. And a lot of them have said that's very useful because they can't attend at that time, but they know that they can go and search for the information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew. It is now 10 a.m. here in Washington, D.C., and thank you, everyone, for joining us all around the world. As I mentioned, both the presentation and the webinar will be available. The links to where you can access these will be sent out on Monday. Please feel free to share with your other Alumni Relations staff. If you're interested in joining the working group, it's going to be a smaller group of individuals to discuss very similar challenges and ideas to brainstorm together, to connect everyone from around the world on different topics. And we will likely run another webinar. Also, look out for Andrew's research that will be released this September that will include more information. If you're interested in taking part in the study as well, both of their information will be sent out. Thank you again, Andrew and you. This was very informative. I'm glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you for having us.
Wonderful. Well, now the webinar is officially ended. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.